Allison says, question, what do you think about the fact that some Christians are calling librarians, teachers, groomers, while so many pastors are caught doing that very thing? How do you reach people on this topic? One of the lines Jesus uses kind of over and over and over again is, you hypocrites. When he's talking to the religious leaders of his day, he often talks to them. He says, you hypocrites. You wear all these fancy clothes, but you don't live according to the law. You hypocrites. You condemn others for healing on the Sabbath. Jesus healed a guy on the Sabbath. You hypocrites, you condemn people for healing people on the Sabbath. But if your cow or your donkey or your camel fell into a pit, wouldn't you go and work on the Sabbath to rescue them from the pit? You hypocrites, you say this, but you do that. That's what we should be. That's how I would address that question. Thank you, by the way, Allison, for the question, because we have a couple of librarians as a part of our community here. They're lovely people. They're wonderful people. And librarians aren't grooming anybody. They're not grooming anybody any more than a teacher is grooming somebody. And you're absolutely right that if you really, what was it, drag queens last year? That was the drag queens in libraries reading to children, or drag queens, drag shows. Children-friendly drag shows. They're grooming. No, they're not. They're entertaining. No, librarians aren't. They're supporting and encouraging and providing care for and offering their services in the libraries, helping people. That's what they're doing. And teachers aren't grooming. Not as a whole. Are there bad ones? I'm sure there are. But Christians, we have no business pointing our fingers and saying, oh, they're grooming. What about the children? Oh, why can't we think of the children? When our pastors and our leaders and our wardens and our deacons are out there doing awful, horrible things, when our youth ministers are doing awful, horrible things, getting caught with awful, horrible media, videos and images. No, we need to focus on ourselves. Are we doing that stuff? In the Anglican Church of Canada, I suspect it's in the Episcopal Church as well, we have this thing called Safer Church. And that's for us to be looking internally. As a matter of fact, in the next 2 weeks, I've got to take about 4 different courses. Thankfully, they're online. But I've got a bunch of courses that I have to get off my butt and take, because they help us learn how to protect our congregations. They help us learn how to watch ourselves, to monitor ourselves, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We've got all kinds of different policy that we're going to be taught, that we're always continuously encouraged to learn about and being taught about. Safer Church does not mean that we are perfectly safe. What Safer Church, the program for Safer Church that we have here in Canada is, it helps us understand how we can be a safer church. We can't ensure that a predator won't walk through our doors, but we can make sure that if a predator walks through our doors, we have all these policies and things in place that make sure that this is not a place where a predator would want to be. It's not a place where, and I apologize for the language, but it's not a place where a predator feels comfortable and safe eating. And so they move on. They go elsewhere. We make sure that with Safer Church, it helps us to make sure that everybody is safer. The people who are providing, as well as the people being provided for. That's the right way of going. That's what we should be doing. As a church, we should be looking inside. We should be introspective, asking ourselves, how can we protect our leaders? How can we protect our volunteers? How can we protect our cooks? How can we protect our cleaners? How can we protect our Sunday school teachers? How can we protect our home communion people and our visiting, our teams of visitors? How do we protect those, and how do we protect our congregation? How do we protect those we are serving? How do we protect those we are feeding? How do we protect those we are visiting? That's what we should be doing. Not looking around going, oh, they're grooming the children. No. Let's worry about ourselves first in this regard. Again, we don't ever want Jesus to show up and say, you hypocrites. You point your fingers at these entertainers. You point your fingers at these singers. You point your fingers at these readers. You point your finger at these people who are offering to the children, but you don't look inside. You don't take care of yourself. You don't take care of what's going on in your community. How dare you point at others and condemn others? How dare you condemn those who are taking care of the least of these? How dare you point your fingers and condemn those who are providing for children and providing for seniors, when you yourselves are devouring the vulnerable, when you yourselves are exploiting the vulnerable? You hypocrites. We don't want to hear that message from Jesus. If Jesus got to talk to us that way, we're on the wrong side of things. We want to make sure that we are always, always, always on the side of the vulnerable. That we're never the source of oppression. That we're never the source of injury. That we're never the source of damage. That we're never the source of trauma. We don't ever want Jesus to hear those words uttered by Jesus. You hypocrites. You hypocrites. You condemn others, but you do nothing. You do nothing but cause that damage yourself. You hypocrites. You point your fingers at others, and yet you do 10 times worse. Unabashedly do 10 times worse. How do you reach people on this topic? You talk about it openly. You talk about it openly. You talk about it unabashedly. You look inside. Amen.